With Virgin Media, you can build up the entertainment and tear down the price. Switch to Virgin Media today and get superfast broadband and TV for just €49 a month for an awesome 12 months. The sale that stacks up. Now on. See virginmedia.ie and check out how our mobile sales stacks up too.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. 12-month contract. Offer ends 27th of February 2019.
Buddy.
From frigid Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Doug.
And coming up today, we've got, Doug is also a return missionary. And so we're going to be talking about missions and just kind of share some stories about that. And, two former Mormon missionaries.
Right.
That's kind of what we have to talk about.
Right, exactly. With vastly different experiences.
Yeah. And we should point out that Doug is sitting in for Dan today.
That's right.
So thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be back.
Yeah. This is your second time guest hosting.
Second time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time went really well. And so...
Thank you.
With Dan out of town this time, it was just kind of a no-brainer.
Well, I'm glad to have replaced Mark completely from the podcast. We can erase his names from the obelisks.
No, I think we'd have some sad listeners with that one. So what you got, Doug?
Well, since it's my second time back, the first time I was here, we covered this story, and it came back up in the news again. Mm-hmm. And it's not a happy story. It's out of Chechnya, which I guess goes without saying.
It's almost like there are no happy stories.
Not
from
really.
Chechnya.
Not that industry dried up many years ago. When I was back on the show, there was a crackdown in Chechnya. This guy Kadyrov, the leader of Chechnya, which is a semi-autonomous region of Russia. Basically, it's part of Russia, but it does what it wants. They were rounding up homosexuals, and for reasons unknown. They had rounded up about 100 or so. No one really knew what was happening or why. Well, in the aftermath of that, there are about 40 gay men in Russia, hiding in various parts of Russia, trying to flee, that have applied for visas to the United States and have been rejected. They've applied to various other Western democracies, but because the region they're coming from, there's no interest in getting these people out of there.
How can this not qualify for some kind of refugee status?
Don't know. I don't know.
This is it's horrifying. Actually,
it's really scary, and Russia generally is not a good place for gay people. So fleeing Chechnya, and your only good option is to be in another part of a terrible place.
Yeah,
but and this is not funny, but it's interesting. This Kadyrov guy was kind of pressed about this. And originally and again recently, he said he's denying that there's a crackdown because Chechnya, quote, does not have this phenomenon called non-traditional sexual orientation. There can be no crackdown because there's no gay people here.
Okay, so what are they doing?
I don't know. It's for some other reason, apparently. So he's maintained for a long time that there are just homosexuality is a deviation that doesn't exist in the Chechnyan people.
Wow.
So... yeah. Fun stuff.
I'll scratch that place off my my list of countries to visit.
Yeah, I don't think tourism is up there on their top industry list.
Apparently not. However, funny hats seem to be.
Funny hats and mustacheless beards. It's a good look.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And it's
terrible.
This is out of BuzzFeed. I do love that they chose one picture of him where he was blinking. If that,
good for BuzzFeed.
Good for BuzzFeed. Sticking it to him.
All right. Well, a little less funny. Probably no less terrifying. Trump, our esteemed president,
for now,
for the next few weeks,
as of time of recording.
He is set to do his first foreign traveling, right? He's going to be hitting up was it Israel, Saudi Arabia, and what was the other one? You mentioned
The Vatican.
Oh, the Vatican. That's right. That's going to really go well. Fortunately, the Vatican visit, he's not likely to really start something that we're never going to be able to pull back from.
Well, I don't think you should underestimate him.
Well, the Vatican doesn't own many missiles.
True.
But as far as his trip to Saudi Arabia, on the docket, there is a speech that is planned where he's going to speak about Islam.
And his version of a peaceful Islam.
And his version of peaceful Islam.
Who thought this was a good idea?
I think it's the one topic that they should absolutely tell him not to talk about.
Right.
Under any circumstance. Right. Do not talk about
in Saudi Arabia.
This thing that could get you killed. And start a war. More likely just start a war.
Well, and isn't he going to speak to the leaders of 50 Muslim countries?
Oh yeah. This is through what's the spokesperson's name? Let's see, National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, thank you. He says the president will share his hopes for a peaceful vision of Islam to dominate across the world. He's calling on our Muslim partners to unite the broader Muslim world against common enemies of all civilization. I just wonder how people like the Christians in this country would feel if, a Muslim president of a foreign country came over here and started talking to evangelicals about what they need to get right.
And it wouldn't be like the King of Jordan, who's an educated, well-spoken man. It'd be like this fucker Kadyrov coming over here and telling us how to be our religion.
Yeah. It would not go well. And I don't think we'd be very receptive, or our religious people would be very receptive to it. So
did that quote say he wants a peaceful version of Islam to dominate?
To dominate, yeah.
Can that?
Which I love.
Yeah.
That's a great sentence.
Just want to make sure I got that.
It's not like his other speeches to specific religious groups have gone perfectly.
Right.
His one to Christians went well, no surprise there. But he
that
also
was the 2 Corinthians speech, right?
I think there's been one since that one. He also spoke to a group of Holocaust. He spoke to a group of. It was a Jewish group of some kind on Holocaust Remembrance Day, and that one I guess went okay as well. But again, there's just kind of been a lot of mixed reviews with these groups that he should have some familiarity with, and that also aren't as volatile.
Exactly. He is not qualified to give a speech on Christianity, and he's nominally been a Christian for 70 years.
Right.
What are the chances this is going to go well?
Right, not very well. Right, not well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Of course, the show will probably be coming out right as the missiles start launching. So you listeners may not get a chance to.
And he didn't go to Mexico or Canada or any other liberal democracy because there would be massive protests in the streets.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent point.
He's going to military dictatorships where he knows he'll be fine.
Yeah. That's an excellent point.
God. I'm getting really tired of holding my breath, waking up tomorrow and going, hey, we're still here.
I know. So we'll see. We'll see how long we're still here.
Well, speaking of the Vatican,
okay,
this one's entertaining.
Okay.
It appears that Trump is about to nominate a ambassador to the Vatican City, which, leaving aside the fact that we have an ambassador to a pretend nation.
No, it's real.
It's like having an ambassador to Narnia.
It's like what? A square mile?
Is it?
I don't even know if it's that big.
But
it's cute.
It's very pretty.
It's adorable.
It's a great place. Apparently, it's just fucktown too. From all the
the sexually repressed cardinals and priests.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is off subject, but apparently there are pretty raucous rumors about the brothels and nightclubs around Vatican City that are pretty great places to be. Well, depending on what you like.
I'm sure.
But the nominee that he is thinking of sending to the Vatican as ambassador for the United States is Callista Gingrich, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Callista, as you may or may not know, is the third wife of former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. And
he's still around.
Apparently.
Do we still have to... Does his name have to be mentioned still?
Right? At what point does it end? Is this expiration date for these terrible people? She's his third wife, and he was, I don't know what he was before, but she converted him to Catholicism. So...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. By what manner, I can only imagine.
So, yeah, and cheating, right?
Right.
The cheating needs to be talked about.
Exactly.
Here,
She was his third wife. He abandoned two of his previous wives because of sickness. I mean, if there's a man more in contrast and opposition to anything that the Christian religion is supposed to stand for, I can't think of it.
Right.
A rich, white, serial pederast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife is going to be the ambassador to the Vatican.
So I didn't know that detail about the reason the first two marriages ended was because the women got sick?
He traded in for a younger and better model both times.
Oh my!
The details I might have backwards, but they're correct as far as it goes. One was cancer, and one was some other disease that he left them.
My God!
He left them once they were sick and married younger. So
he's a good man,
a decent man,
good man.
Yeah,
and this is wife number 3, and they hooked up after an affair.
Is the Vatican even big enough to house ambassadors from every country?
That I don't know. I don't know how that works. If they get an apartment, a cell somewhere that they get to stay in, you get a phone and a toilet, and that's it.
I'm sure the phone and toilet are gorgeous.
You're right. All right, let's see. Are you familiar with this? It's apparently been a fad that is just sweeping the nation. In fact, possibly the entire world. You know what a fidget spinner is?
I saw a story about this the other day.
Yeah.
I'm too old and I don't have kids, so I kind of don't feel like I'm the target demographic.
Yeah. Well, I had fun. I saw one probably a couple weeks ago. Had no clue what it was. Right, but one of the girls at work was just playing with it like mad.
Yeah.
Right, just kept, and it's this little thing where you it's only a couple inches across, and they come in a few different styles. But the one that seems to be kind of the main predominant one, you hold a disc in the middle of this thing between like your thumb and forefinger, right, and then the rest of it is on like some sort of probably ball bearing or whatever system, and you spin it, and it will spin just forever, right? Like a minute or two.
Yeah.
Just boom. And it's supposed to help with fidgety kids. It gives them something that's quiet and that's not really all that distracting to play with, and just kind of keep their hands occupied.
Isn't that what Ritalин's for?
Well, yeah. But it might be nice to have a non-Ritalin solution.
I guess.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't have kids. Yeah, drug them up, you know. But so anyway, there has been some concern, however, in Israel over fidget spinners. Apparently there was some concern within the Orthodox community about whether they were kosher for the Sabbath.
Oh, okay. I was hoping this is where this was going.
And so, thank goodness, everybody, just in case you were worried, the Scientific Institution or the Scientific Institute of Technology in Jerusalem, the good rabbis there have put the spinner through a quote comprehensive technological examination and determined that it is permissible to use on the Sabbath. Their only caveat is that it can't be one that has lights in it, because the spinner's movement is what turns the lights on. So the person doing the spinning would technically be doing work, and therefore no good for the Sabbath.
So you don't have to hire a goy to stand next to you and tap your spinning thing every few minutes. That's good.
It makes things easier for the Jewish children of Israel. Oh, and the Jewish children everywhere. They're now able to not fidget as much. However, the fidgeting they'll have to figure out how to not fidget in when they go to synagogue, because the rabbis noted that they should probably not be bringing them in order to not harm the sanctity of the place. So
there's nothing worse than a fidgety Jew.
Jesus. Apparently, though, the inventor of the toy, she must be Israeli, right?
Really?
Yeah, or at least was in Israel at the time, or in that region of the world, I guess I should say a little more broadly. She saw a bunch of Palestinian youth, this was back in the 90s, throwing rocks, right, at a building or whatever. And she was like, those kids need something to do with their hands. Oh my God. And this is the toy that she invented.
Oh, my God.
And so it's actually been around for a couple decades now. But it just, for whatever reason, just like sprang to wild popularity over the last 30, 40 days. I mean, every article I was reading about it just talking about this phenomenon.
Yeah, I saw something that it was just like everyone's got one now. Everyone
has one. The top 10 toys on Amazon for a week last month were all spinners of some kind. It's insane.
That's nice that something good came out of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Wouldn't that be amazing if that's what actually turned the tide and brought peace?
They just stopped fidgeting.
They're all just standing in the street corners spinning their fidgeters. God. Is that really why she wanted to make this thing, is to stop Palestinians?
That's the quote. That quote is in the story that was in the foreword, right?
Oh my God.
And then, but I followed it back. That's what Wikipedia says as well. So,
wow.
Yeah. They have quotes from her talking about it. Now, her spinner wasn't exactly like those spinners that are kind of the like this one that's become really popular. But it's the exact same concept.
Are you sure you're not talking about a dreidel?
No. I'm pretty sure. She made this wicked dreidel that just spins forever. No.
That would be awesome.
That's really funny.
Oh, and the light thing, that's lighting a candle, right? That's the deal. If it's got a light in it and they spin it, they're lighting a candle on the Sabbath.
Right. Because, turning on a light is not kosher for Sabbath.
I bet that was the subject of weeks of deliberations.
Oh, I would have loved to hear the deliberate. On what grounds?
When they use their robotic machinery to take these things apart for the analysis.
I'm sure it's so technical, right? What did they do to this thing to
just hit it with a hammer, just smash it, good to go,
or just actually spin it on the Sabbath and
see if something
they're
happens.
Still alive?
They should try that with all of the things. They should try eating milk shrimp on the Sabbath.
Ooh.
Well, all right. You and I both have suffered, given that we are in an industry that is very much at the whims of our legislature. This last legislative session was not a great one for us.
That's true.
And among many other things that came out of it, aside from .05 and another insane liquor law that we're going to be spending the next 5 years trying to figure out.
Right.
Governor Gary Herbert signed a new bill that keeps polygamy a felony in Utah and increases the penalties for polygamists convicted of committing frauds and abuses. Now, anytime polygamy comes up in the legislature, the church actually tries to push it away. They don't want to deal with this issue. It's a huge embarrassment for them.
I find that fascinating.
It's so strange. You'd think they would want to snuff it out.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is they have tried on more than one occasion to actually stomp down on polygamy and end it.
Okay.
And in every case they have, it's blown up in their faces.
Okay.
This goes all the way back to 1953, and it was called Short Creek back then. It's now Colorado City.
Uh-huh.
It's on the border with Arizona. Have you ever been down there?
I've driven. Yeah.
It's a scary area.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You definitely wouldn't want to drive my Subaru with the Obama sticker through Colorado City.
Yeah. I've only done one quick little drive, just ducked off the highway.
Yeah.
Because I've driven on the highway a number of times.
Right. It's kind of off the beaten path. You have to want to get there.
You have to want to get there unless you're going down to through like the what do they call it? The Arizona Strip.
Yeah.
There, which is just north of the Grand Canyon.
Exactly.
So if you're going to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, you might go through there.
Right. But it's essentially 100% polygamist.
Yeah.
It's extremely remote.
Right.
And it was called Short Creek back in the 50s, and the Arizona and Utah.
Short Creek.
Short Creek.
Short
Exactly.
Creek.
Short Creek. True. The government went in, the Arizona-Utah government went in and tried to stomp it out. And it blew up in their faces massively because they arrested all the men because those are the ones they could charge with bigamy and various other crimes. And then they had to deal with all of the women and children who had lost all their breadwinners. And as polygamists do, there's lots of women and children.
Right.
And
that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a lot of men.
Not a lot of men. And there's stories about how they make that work.
Yeah.
Anyway, it blew up in their faces, and it became such a PR nightmare that they just decided essentially just to let it be. Like, if you don't bug us, we won't bug you. Texas actually, back in 2008, kind of did the exact same thing. It was one of Warren Jeff's, very famous polygamist. It was one of his compounds. I don't know if you remember. Did you see the video of them marching all those girls in pastel clothes?
How could you miss it?
How could you miss it?
Yeah.
And that blew up in their faces for the exact same reason. It became a PR nightmare. And then how do you deal with taking kids out of custody? You know, the mother of, the actual married wife of one of the polygamists, and then all these other women and their kids. It's just a sticky web.
Right.
And they did, eventually all of them ended up back on the compound. Wow. And they only charged a couple people.
Is that compound still active?
Yes.
No way.
It's still there. Because there's just no really easy way to deal with this. And so Utah learned that lesson. Now Texas has.
Wow.
So this idiot who did his television show, what was it called?
Oh, Sister Wives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He forced the issue into the spotlight because they couldn't not deal with it. They had to actually address this because he was flaunting it.
Right.
So they signed this bill into law that basically just kind of expands some of the punishments and some of the definitions. But it was done under extreme duress and under as much secrecy as they could do it. Because, again, weirdly, the Mormon Church does not want the subject of polygamy in the news at all. So yeah, another little fun nugget about the state of Utah. We still have a shit ton of polygamists.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's also the suburban polygamists as well.
Yes.
They don't just live down on compounds. They also own houses in Sandy. And
apparently, the majority of them live in the
Salt Lake Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would believe that.
And have you ever seen their houses? You ever kind of noticed them?
The ones down in Harriman.
Yeah.
Those ones stand out. But, I mean, supposedly they're also just like blended into
they're kind of
the suburban landscape.
Yeah, they're kind of big love. They're around.
Oh, yeah. That scenario was very accurate.
Yeah.
Actually.
And there's a couple houses not far from where we're sitting where you can see the facades of the houses, but you can, if you pay attention, they're all joined in back. So it's like...
Really?
Yep.
Right around here?
Not far from here at all.
No way.
And they're all driving minivans, which is not unusual in Utah. But yeah.
So what, like south? Like in Fair Park? Or?
California Avenue and like 9th West.
No way.
Yeah. It's a big...
I feel like I have a good visual image of that.
It doesn't look... as you're driving by at 30, 40 miles an hour, you'd never notice. But if someone points it out to you, you can't miss it.
No way.
We'll have to go take a little field trip over there. And
I would love that.
Look at the polygamists.
Yeah, absolutely. Huh. That's fascinating. Yeah. Utah.
Yeah.
It's always something weird.
Well, and it's this problem is always going to be here because the founding documents of that religion advocate polygamy, and they have yet to remove D&C 132.
Yeah.
So,
but the founding documents also allow them to drink beer. So
true enough.
Why don't they do that?
And they've changed white and delightsome to fair and delightsome or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's Well, there've been it's well over 1,000 revisions of the Book of Mormon text. Just the Book of Mormon text has been revised.
So why don't they just scrub 132 and the whole Book of Abraham and just wash their hands of it?
It would make their lives easier.
So much easier.
They'd have to come up with a really good explanation, and that's the hard part.
God told him to do it.
The prophet has never had that revelation.
Nope.
And somebody like Thomas Monson is a true believer. right?
Whatever's left up there is a true believer. Not to bag on the guy, but he's old.
He's going to die any day.
Yeah, he's old and infirm, and they
Yeah.
push him in front of the camera. It's hard to watch.
Yeah. No, if they ever get somebody who's not like a true believer in the presidency, maybe they could clean up some stuff.
You think someone could ascend through that hierarchy without being a tried and true?
I always kind of wondered about Hinckley, to be honest. Yeah.
He was definitely more...
I think he was a believer, but I don't think he was like... I don't think he drank the Kool-Aid fully.
Really?
That was always my perspective. I don't know. Like, he just was so reasonable, at least his public persona, like when he got in front of the media.
Yeah.
Like, he really knew how to... and maybe that's the fact. Maybe that's why I have that perspective, because he just seemed to know how to come off as a reasonable man.
Of all of the guys in that hierarchy that we've seen in the past however many years, he's definitely the one that seemed a little more clued in. Mm-hmm. He could talk to the press.
Yeah.
That's a low bar, but
yeah,
he cleared it.
He did.
He ambled over it.
Yeah. And he said something. I remember his Mike Wallace interview on 60 Minutes back in the 90s. We watched it on my mission.
Oh, yeah?
They sent the tape out from Salt Lake.
I think I did too.
Well, all right. We'll be talking about more of that. But yeah, we were at a zone conference and they put it on. And I remember he like answered some of the questions in ways where I was like, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
A little less than totally doctrinal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why I think he wasn't like that strident true believer. Like he was willing to shift and move around just a little bit.
Right.
You know.
But we were talking about Monson at one point a while back, and he was made an apostle, I believe, in the early 1960s.
He was young.
So he was a bishop and a stake president and a missionary.
Yeah.
10, 20, 30, 40 years before the church allowed black people to be full members.
Correct.
That's the church he was in, he grew up in.
Yeah.
And that's the same for almost everyone in the 12 apostles and almost all the 70s. So
yeah.
It's going to be generations before they move away from those residual effects.
Yeah. I mean, who's the youngest one right now? Like Bednar?
Yeah, that recent addition is but he was in his 60s, right?
I think he was like barely 60, which is really young.
It's a spring chicken.
Well, all right. Actually, we've been talking about the Mormons. I've got a Mormon story. So downtown Salt Lake City, right across from the Temple Square complex, is the Family History Library, the LDS Family History Library. And it's a genealogy library and probably one of the finest in the world.
Yeah.
The Mormons have put a lot of money into genealogy. It's plays an important role in their theology. But they want to get people excited about like their ancestors and they want people showing up. And especially they would love to get kids from an early age educated into this. And so they've set up an exhibit, an interactive exhibit actually.
Called, I have no idea where this is going.
Called Discovery Experience. And they one of the things that you can do is you go in, you log into, I didn't know that this was even a thing, your LDS account number, and it will pull up.
Did you get that in the temple?
Right after your new name. This is a new thing.
Your name, and then your PIN.
Your new name is Ruben 714-6259.
I wish that were true.
Anyway, so you put it in, and it pulls up your family history right then and there, which should have some creep factor.
Yeah.
Right? They know so much about you. And if you want, you can take a photo of yourself and then superimpose your face onto figures dressed in native clothes of various cultures, which are not even yours or have no connection to your ancestors.
No.
For example, You can put your face on a bare-chested Samoan.
Oh, my God.
Or an American Indian in a feathered, fringed shirt.
Ugh.
Or perhaps onto the body of a Chickasaw princess.
Oh.
Or a Roman gladiator. A mariachi musician. Or a British man decked out in a top hat and tails.
Is there an app for this? Is it called blackface?
Yeah, and that's exactly it.
So it doesn't take your white and delightsome face and just pop it onto a person of color. It actually blends you into the...
No, it puts your white face on their brown body. So they were smart enough not to change the color of your face, I guess.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's just a detail, I guess. They probably felt like that was going to keep them out of hot water.
Yeah, because this got approved. This went through some process.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
This, I guarantee... Well, not Thomas S. Monson. We've already talked about that. They wheeled him over and put his white face on a Chickasaw princess.
Probably not the first time he's done that.
And there's also some fun details that you can learn through the whole process. One of them that's ruffling some feathers.
Are there feathers left unruffled at this point with this?
Well, apparently in the Samoan entry, one of the main things that it points out is that obesity is considered a status symbol.
Oh.
So they've gone through. So they've broken these cultures down to their stereotype.
Yeah,
their one most glaring, obvious stereotype.
The only thing Mexico has to offer is a mariachi.
And the thing, yes, and the novel thing that the white people in Utah are going to find interesting about these cultures. And first of all, like, really, like. The British man is in a top hat and tails? Like, what?
It couldn't be like a coal miner.
No.
Or,
Yeah, or I love even the Roman gladiator.
Right.
Like, that was like, what, 1% of 1% of
right.
Romans?
Right.
Like, what about just a man in a tunic?
Right.
Like, come on. And the whole concept, anyway, the whole concept is a little weird.
Just a little bit.
It would be one thing, like I was kind of thinking about this. I was like, I guess it would be one thing to like, oh, here we know your family history, so let's pull up some images of maybe some traditional dress
from your history.
Right? Yeah. That would actually be educational and kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's not that hard to imagine a man with a pretzel and a bratwurst, but that's the...
But at least it's applicable. Let's see what Frank looks like as a fat Samoan, which would make you very important in their culture.
Very important. A fat German noshing on a...
Is this thing still up and running?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I don't think they've backed off on it yet. It might be worth just going and checking out.
I've always thought about what I'd look like as a Chickasaw princess.
Apparently, though, there is a lot of backlash, of course, especially amongst the more international part of the Mormon Church. And
you mean the mariachi wing of the Mormon Church?
Yeah. Yes. Let's see. Uzil Uribe, who's a bicultural Mormon living in Mexico, says that this it makes her feel disposable. These communities are facing very real marginalization and violence placed upon their bodies through international policy by the church and currently the United States, she says. To these very real bodies to be put on and taken off ends up desecrating them in a very, very real way. And
I think that's a very eloquent way of putting it.
Yeah, I think she summed it up right there.
Yeah, I could probably sum it up in a couple less words.
Yeah, I think that's probably possible.
I only ask because you didn't mention it. Is there a black character in this panoply? Is there like a slave you can put your face on or something like that?
Boy, I didn't say it. You would think that would be the one in the headline. Django-fy yourself.
That must be where they're like, okay, we draw the line at black people. All right, we've done that before.
They learned their lesson. This is them learning their lesson.
Old habits die hard. Yeah, right. This is a step forward.
And they really think that this is like no, this is supposed to be about celebrating and inclusion and diversity and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, this is not how you do that.
You know, you could do the thing they do at the Holocaust Museum, where they give you a little piece of information when you walk in, and you kind of live that experience through the eyes of an active victim of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
You get a kind of little bio about them.
It's a little booklet.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And so, they could say, like, okay, this is what the life was like for a Chickasaw princess. And I did not say chicken saw, did I?
I don't believe so.
Just delete all that out.
I don't believe so. I didn't hear
Who's the racist now? They could do, like, okay, what's like life on Samoa?
Yeah.
Do they have to put your face on their face?
I don't think so.
I don't really think
that's where it gets. It's weird.
It crosses the line very obviously.
Yeah.
The church office building. If you look at it in profile, it's two giant globes and a huge tower.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see it as a cock and balls.
Right.
And that got passed. At some point, there were a bunch of apostles standing around a table with the plan spread out.
Right.
And, all of them were thinking, this looks like cock and balls. But none of them could say it. Right? So it got built.
Well, surely nobody's mind is as dirty as mine. Is that what you're...
Well, exactly. I can't admit that this looks like cock and balls. And somehow this got passed. I was like, well, I can't say it looks racist because I don't want to sound racist. I don't know. I have no idea. But it got. We have to go to this thing.
I think it's just how sheltered their lives are, and how I think that there's a lot of overestimation in the Mormon community about what those 2 years abroad for a lot of their people does for them.
Right.
Yeah. And I think they think that they're a lot more worldly and more exposed to the world than they really are.
Yeah.
Even though they've created the mission in this way that it's amazing how well they're able to shelter the missionaries from real life in a lot of the places where they get sent.
And we'll talk about this, but it is astounding to having gone through the experience how much you actually experience of their culture and how much you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You eat the food. You live in their houses.
Right.
You walk the streets.
Yeah.
But somehow...
And it's a remarkable level of exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there is amazing.
It is amazing.
But then it stops.
But you're wearing a hazmat suit while you do it. Like, you never
absolutely.
really get it.
Yeah.
You never assimilate.
No.
And, let's not leave behind the attitude that I'm here to save you.
Right.
Wherever you are and whatever you're doing,
well,
I've got what you need.
The desperate letters home for a tub of peanut butter. Right?
Right.
Like,
all you got was Nutella, right?
Yeah, we had it. It just sucked so bad to have to live with Nutella for 2 years. Nutella and Italian food for 2 years.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
And no wine.
I didn't know how bad that sucked, but yeah, in retrospect, I'm like, fuck, that would have been amazing.
You'd be an expert by now.
Oh, I could
not
tell
that you're not.
Oh, I'm not. No,
I'm not.
But I would sure know the difference between a Chianti and a Valpolicella.
Wow.
What?
That was sexy.
Whatever. All right. Well, if you have anything to say about anything that we've talked about today, you can do so by emailing us. The email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. Or you can also call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. We do love to hear your voice. And there's also a thriving community on Facebook that you should go check out. You can go to facebook.com/TGIAtheist, where you get daily posts from Mackenzie about all things atheist. And if you search for on Facebook, the TGIA Members Only Lounge, you can join our sort of closed community. It's private, it protects your identity. We've even refrained from tagging it as an atheist group just so nobody even knows what it is. You have to search for it, you request to join, we let you in, and it's quite awesome. It's moderated, so the conversation stays civil.
I'm in there.
Are you in there? I'm not.
Are you? Oh, that's right. You're not on Facebook.
I'm technically on Facebook, but I use it like once a month.
You and my brother have a lot in common that way.
Yeah, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
For years I tried to get into what what is this?
It's just a place to yell at people.
I know, and I don't like that.
You have enough of those?
Yeah, apparently. All right, and so anyway, if you would like to join that, please do. All right, Doug. I've got a little clip of audio I want to play for you.
All right.
Jim Bakker, who I never thought in a million years I would find entertaining and delightful.
Really?
Oh, my God. Well, back in the growing up, I would always hear Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker, right? And I knew then that he was crazy. Boy, he's turned into the gift that keeps on giving.
Indeed.
So here's a little clip of him very upset about things that people say about our president.
Get ready. I know something big's going to happen. You think there's not shaking in the world? There's warfare. I'll tell you what. There's warfare in our government. Mm-hmm. Did you see Colbert on the air the other night talking about the president? He said, terrible. I'm telling you, this isn't normal comedian, happy, funny stuff.
Angry.
This is hate Trump. Kill Trump.
Right.
Kill the president of the United States. The president recently just signed this amazing bill that allows us to be able to speak freely on our TV shows, on our church pulpits, because there was a Johnson bill that said that we couldn't even talk about political things, but he signed the bill today that told the IRS, you cannot come for Jim Bakker again. You cannot come and take him away because they're preaching what they believe.
Was there a horn in the back of that there at the last second?
Yeah, I think it was starting up. Yeah,
somebody has one of those Israeli.
Yeah, here come the whatevers. Here come the Christians. Yeah. There's a little bit to unpack.
There's a lot there.
One. Yeah,
it's a rich tapestry of stupidity.
I don't think he knows what comedy is.
No,
for one.
I would love to hear his notion of what good, clean comedy is.
Well, I think that's why...
I hope it's Bill Cosby.
Oh. No, but I think it's why you don't see a lot of, really funny conservatives.
No.
Because they want it to be happy.
Right.
And that's not at all what's funny.
No.
It's usually dark.
Yes.
And
self-deprecating and, edgy, yeah. All of the things that make life interesting that they've washed out of theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just this, yeah. So yeah, poor Stephen Colbert.
Well, and, again, people like Stephen Colbert live to be mentioned by Donald Trump or Jim Bakker.
Absolutely.
It's pay dirt for them.
Yeah.
And what it was that Colbert said was that Donald Trump's penis or mouth is only good for Vladimir Putin's cock holster, which is eloquent. But he didn't say kill the president.
No, he didn't.
The only person saying kill the president is him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So.
And the IRS. I think he's misunderstanding the bill that was signed by the president.
Absolutely.
Not a bill.
This is not a, it's a president. It's an executive order.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think his name was mentioned in there.
Nope.
Jim Bakker gets a clean, get out of jail free card the next time he rips off a bunch of his listeners.
I think if he tries to go back to old habits, it's going to be a rude awakening.
Well.
Yeah.
It will not go well for him. God. All right. Bible Land 2. Let's saddle up, everybody. Saddle up. It's happening.
Boy, his look has changed, though, hasn't it? He's turned into kind of a Bond villain look.
Yeah.
That chrome dome, all tanned. And that.
Well, he lost a lot of weight.
He did lose a lot of weight.
For one.
That'll happen in prison.
And he likes his ball caps now. He always wears a ball cap with a Christian cross on it. He does that a lot. I think he sells them on the show.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Of course he does.
The Jim Bakker show is just a giant, we're selling you shit.
Yeah.
Hour.
And
right?
he's probably rolling in it.
Oh, yeah. And because it's like they're able to claim that there's some sort of ministry,
Right.
they get all that tax benefit. I mean, this guy, he never. This guy's not a true believer. This guy is in it for the cash.
He believes in something, but it's not.
He understands how to talk to Christians, or at least this style of Christian, and he knows how to make money off of it.
So all that shit he hawks is tax free.
Now, see, that part, I'm not quite sure how that would work.
Oh, my God.
But
because I've been doing my business wrong these many years.
Yeah, just set it up as
it's a religious institution.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I mean, Dan and I joked in the early days of the podcast of making this a ministry, and just having all of the benefit that would have for us.
What stopped you?
We just never did it.
It's the paperwork.
Yeah, we had to look stuff up on the internet
to file something.
Yeah, who's going to do that? No, I think we did look into it a little bit, and it just seemed a little. I was always just like, I don't even want to mimic their model,
right?
And there was something that felt shady about it, and risky.
Right. A little bit.
A little risky and the IRS is not really an organization you want to.
You know who you should talk to about this?
Who?
Jim Baker.
What do you mean?
I think he has lots of experience in doing exactly this.
Just reach out to him.
Just say, hey, I've got some questions.
So I've noticed you have this history of defrauding people.
You should sell that.
Write a how-to, Jim. I'll buy it. No, that's terrible. No.
Yeah. We pay our taxes because, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
It's part of living in a civilized.
It's the dues. It's the membership dues.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we have a voicemail that came in this week that I wanted to play. This is from a longtime listener, and he's responding to a conversation that Dan and I had about wedding officiants. And the fact that we just feel like anyone and everyone should be able to do it.
Hey, Frank and Dan. It's Adam from Las Vegas. Called a long time ago. Been a long time listener. I haven't called in a long time. But I'm a wedding officiant out here, and I've mentioned that before when same-sex marriage became legal. But I wanted to just throw my 2 cents into the whole Oregon secular officiant business. First of all, I think it's all pretty ridiculous because the way they handle that here in Nevada is they just allow notaries to do weddings. You don't have to be a member of any sort of specific organization. You're a notary. You swear before the clerk. You do all the things you have to do to be a notary to basically show that your word is good and you're recognized by the state. And there you go. You can do weddings as a notary. And second, when you guys were talking about how any Joe Blow should be able to do ceremonies, I mean, conceptually, yeah, I agree with you. But from experience, I'll just let you know, those people that have no experience doing weddings, oh my God, they're the worst weddings. They're just the worst ceremonies ever. You think you want to have your brother or your good friend do it. Maybe Dan, with your background in theater, you can kind of understand that when, you're officiating something, there's some level of art and performance involved. It's kind of like saying, I really like Hamlet, but I think my brother should be the lead in this because he's really cool with people. And just kind of imagine that. That's kind of how it goes with weddings too. So I think just some experience being able to have it, having done this quite a few times is good to have behind you. So yeah, no, don't disagree on legal grounds, but don't just have your friend do your wedding because you think he's cool. Trust me, it's going to be horrible. Anyway, thanks guys. Love the show. Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, thanks, Adam. Yeah, I think that's some nice perspective from someone in the industry.
Yeah. I almost thought he said he was a marriage aficionado.
I know all the best marriages. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Your brother may not do a great job. Yeah. I was at a wedding a couple years ago where the very not religious couple asked their apparently very religious brother to perform a non-religious ceremony, and it didn't go the way they had hoped.
He tried to shoehorn in all the stuff.
Oh, he did? Yeah, he made it a religious ceremony. Lots of God talk, and it was just like, and they were just up there just like smiling, through it. So, I mean, you hire someone and they pull that shit.
Yeah.
It's a different story, but if it's your brother.
Yeah, but, I've been to ceremonies that were not professionally done that were great.
Oh, yeah. I've been to some of those as well, but yeah.
I mean, if you want a professional, get a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I went to a wedding in Vegas one time where it was kind of a wedding chapel deal. That was what they were going for.
Yeah.
And the guy was super weird, but when it came to the moment of actually doing it, everybody was crying.
Oh, wow.
He did have some skills.
He knew how to work a wedding.
He read the crowd and did it right. They're divorced now, so.
Oh, well.
That matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do it the way that works for you.
Right.
I think that's kind of the point, right?
I agree. And I think, anyone should be able to do it. If you want, someone with some experience, go for that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But is being a notary less of a qualifying stricture than being a pastor of some church?
Well, the thing that we were talking about was this law that had passed in Oregon that was changing the requirements for, like when my dad was Mormon bishop, right?
Yeah.
He just walked down to the county hall, showed whatever certification he got from the church, and just was able to sign up as somebody who was able to officiate at weddings, right? And for the non-Mormons out there who are like, wait, okay, this isn't making too much sense because I know Mormon weddings are in temples.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bishops. Your local bishop will sometimes perform non-temple ceremonies.
Yes.
And all the while sort of slipping in a lot of references to the temple and commenting on how this couple needs to prepare to go to the temple through the whole ceremony. And it's bullshit, but that's what they do. And but it was just simple paperwork. Oh, you're a member of the clergy.
Right.
Therefore, here you go.
Here you go.
No questions asked.
Right.
And I'm not sure how it is in Oklahoma, but typically that's how it is everywhere. But the thing that you have to do if you're not a member of the clergy is basically become like a justice of the peace or something like that, which is a whole different process.
Right.
And so what Oregon was saying was, we are going to allow members of like sort of ranking members of organizations in general, to like community organizations, to be able to come and do the exact same thing. Huh. So conceivably, someone at the VFA could, or the Lions Club or whatever.
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some nonprofit organization of some kind be able to send somebody down, and then now they have it. And we were saying, well, if you're going to go that far, just fucking let anybody
just
do
open it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's interesting, the whole notary thing. I don't know what the process to become a notary is.
I have no idea.
You have to go get something notarized, probably. And
it's like being a Mason, just passed on from person to person.
Exactly. All right. Well, we do have some patrons that I want to thank. We have some new patrons this week. 3, to be precise. We have Eric, who's coming in at the faithful level. So thank you, Eric. And then there's Michael, who's a new venerable listener. And then Scott, who I'm impressed, Scott. That's a wonderful pledge. And you're coming in at the Pope level. The Pope level is the highest level except for Savior. And the Savior level status is reserved for our top donor, who continues to be James.
Nice.
So James, right now, Lord and Savior, thank you so much. If you would like to become a patron, you can do so by going to our website, which is thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab. And once you're there, there are some options. The one we're talking about today, of course, is going to Patreon and setting up an account there if you don't already have one, and then just selecting your level of support. And you can do it at whatever level is comfortable for you. Anybody who does go onto Patreon does get a commercial-free version of the show, which is a nice benefit. And yeah,
I'm in there. I don't know what level I am.
You are.
I think
at
I'm the peasant level.
I think you're beatified.
Oh.
I looked you up actually
you did?
before the show because I was going to ask you about it. I was going to ask you, because I think a lot of times what Dan and I talk about with supporting the show, I mean, it's from us, right? We're doing the show, and it's nice to have support. But why do you support the show? I'm just throwing this at you.
I wanted to get on air. I thought this was the easiest way to get my voice and message out there.
Well, that's not going to work for everyone. So
no, I feel free con. I mean, I donate to NPR, and I feel kind of that I need to pay for the things that I consume, and you know what I mean, and support them because they won't last if I don't. So I'm that guy when the pledge drive happens that ends up calling by the last day. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and we're on the list.
Yes. Well, your media I consume.
Well, thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It does mean a lot.
Yeah.
And it does. It helps us. It helps us keep the show going, and we don't really talk about it too much, right? Like we do our little pitch and everything, and this is totally unplanned. But I want to say thank you to everybody. I'm in the process of buying a house right now, and we don't make enough off the show in order to do this full time. But let me tell you, it helped with my down payment.
Nice. And
that was amazing.
Nice.
And the realization that all of a sudden I had this moment where I was like, you know what, that was the listeners.
That's awesome.
And so thank you guys. It really it means a lot.
The roof over your head.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right, Doug.
All right.
It's time to talk about the mission.
Best 2 years of your life.
Oh, so good. Such a good time. 20 some odd years ago?
Yeah, about half my life ago.
Yeah. Crazy. Yes, I'm in the same boat. I got back in 96.
Yeah, we overlapped. I got back in 95.
Yeah. Now tell me where you went, and tell me a little bit about.
I went to the Honduras San Pedro Sula mission. So I was north coast, northern half of Honduras in Central America.
Wow.
And if any of you aren't looking at a map, Central America, just below Mexico, kind of takes a jaunt to the right. That jaunt, that's the north coast of Honduras.
Oh, wow.
And if anyone ever saw the Mosquito Coast with Harrison Ford?
Yes.
That is very much where I was.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that it? That wasn't a true story or anything, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That was a weird story, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But nonetheless, okay. So what was your mission like? Like, what were the communities like that you were?
So the northern coast of Honduras was very, there was a lot of African influence there because of the slave trade.
Right.
And then where I was in cities were very, very grindingly poor industrialized cities. Like, really, just astounding poverty.
Wow.
And it was hot and dirty and dangerous and, pretty damn miserable.
And there you were in your white shirt.
Marching around in my white shirt.
With a tie on.
Yep.
Backpack.
Yep. Didn't have to wear a jacket because it was
nice.
like 110 degrees and 100% humidity.
All year round.
All the time. Sometimes it rained, which didn't help.
Oh, wow.
But we baptized, and I recently went back and looked at a lot of the photos that I took while I was there and who it was I baptized, and it was almost all kids,
Really?
9, 10, 11-year-olds. Yep.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I doubt if any of them even remembered that it happened, let alone are still members of this religion.
I mean, I've heard about that practice a lot.
Soccer missions. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. I mean, that's entirely different than my experience.
So what was your experience?
Well, I mean, it was Rome, Italy.
Yeah.
So my first city was this beautiful city up in the mountains with a just incredible historic town center with towers, stone towers, and and the town was known for its its ceramics and
wow,
and just the most delightful people in that city. Oh my God, so friendly.
Even to the missionaries.
Absolutely.
Really?
In fact, the local thing was because, like in Italian with a lot of like Romance languages, there's the formal version of you and the informal.
Right.
And the local dialect didn't use the formal at all. And so they were really bothered when we would use the formal. They wanted us to be friendly. They wanted us to be sort of in the fold with them, Yeah. And it was that was an amazing place. No baptisms.
Not one.
No. Not one that I can claim. My companionship So I was transferred into a town where the missionary that I was replacing and my new companion had been prepping and working with somebody, and that baptism happened like a week after I arrived.
You were the closer.
But I don't count it.
Right.
That was not somebody I found. I helped teach like the last discussion before the baptism.
So did you teach a lot of discussions? Did that happen?
We taught a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
A lot of firsts. I could probably rattle off the first discussion.
I probably could too in Spanish.
Italian.
Yeah.
No problem right now. But there were a handful of seconds. If I remember right, that's the one where you commit them to baptism. Second out of the 6 discussions, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you what 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
even
6
address.
was. I don't even know if I ever taught a 6.
Really?
Because you get to once they're going to get baptized, you're just like making arrangements for it, and you do maybe 3 and 4 and 5, but then by the time you get to 6, you're on to the next guy.
No, I remember the branch president always, like with the branch president interview. I do seem to. Again, though, I have no experience in the realm, so who am I to speak? But nonetheless, I'm really so. Like the converts that I knew about in Italy were adults,
right,
and of all ages. Like some older people. There were some younger people. I mean, clearly the missionaries, being young themselves, could occasionally reach out to somebody in their early 20s,
right,
and connect. But it did always seem like it was something that those people. Like the ones that I had met who were young,
right,
they didn't stick around after their missionaries left, right? And so I did a lot of like visits to recent converts.
Right.
I say a lot. It happened. I'd go around and meet with some of these people and try to find out why they weren't still coming to church and whatnot. And no connection, no human.
Right.
Their friend was no longer there.
Exactly.
So,
and that was always, I think that might have been the first crack in my religious experience was I went into it believing it. I went into it 100% dedicated. I believe this. But in the MTC, the Missionary Training Center, and then into the mission field, I'm like, well, why are we using high pressure sales tactics? Like if what we're bringing is honestly what it says it is,
right?
Shouldn't it kind of stand on its own legs?
Right.
And we would do a second discussion, and if they said no, we would move on. We wouldn't stick with it and try and teach them more discussions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was a numbers game, and that was what bothered me too. Is like we'd get together for our zone and district meetings, and just you'd tick marks on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
And the mission president would pitch you against the other zones and districts.
Yeah.
It's like, well, is it me or is this weird? And I kind of felt like that undercut what it was that we were doing, right?
Right.
I thought we'd be out there helping people.
No.
Building huts and, no.
It's not humanitarian.
No, not at all.
I think we had 2 or 3 hours a week that we were supposed to fill with service work.
Yeah.
2 hours of which we took care of with our English class program.
Right.
Did you teach English classes?
Mm-mm.
So this was it was a finding event. This was one of the things that we did to try to find people to talk to, right? So we'd hang up flyers all around town for these free English classes taught by Americans. Come to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at such and such address and on Tuesday night.
Wow.
Like Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. Or Tuesdays and Thursdays we would do it. And so we'd have people show up.
Yeah.
And the rule really was English class is English class.
Really?
Uh-huh. And we would just teach English class, and we would make these friends, right, who would show up every single week. Because here's this American kid. Yeah, he's a little weird.
Yeah.
He wears a suit. I don't know why.
Right.
But like,
it's a free class.
It's a free class,
Yeah.
and I'm meeting other people, and these American kids are kind of funny, and I'm getting to practice something that I need.
That's smart.
Yeah. And we, as far as I know, well, I never found an investigator that way, but I made some friends that way.
Investigator. I forgot about that term. So stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, when you think about it, it is. But so we would do 2 of those. We'd count those 2 hours as service. And that's how we kept it out of, because we recognized the value of it as a finding tool.
Right.
But if we actually were using it in our finding hours, we would need to actually infuse it with
Right. You'd have
religion.
to actually apply the commitment pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we kept it sort of sacred and separate. And
was that a decision on your part or on like the mission president's part?
We whispered it around.
Wow, that's
we weren't really sure if the mission president was cool with that or not. And we kept it totally apart.
Yeah.
And the other thing we would do often there in Rome, we would go to Caritas, which is like Catholic Charities.
Oh.
And we would at that place we helped distribute clothes at a homeless shower and get clean clothes facility. And that was actually pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. But that was 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
You know. And those Catholic ladies, they loved us, but it did nothing.
Right.
You know. Aside from helping out the homeless in Rome.
Yeah, we would clean up people's yards and pretty those memories were good because it was we actually and in a lot of ways you had a reprise from
the
having to constantly ask, will you do this? Will you do that? You know?
Yeah.
Which puts so much strain on every relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and even the members. You're like, hey, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? Do you know? Just, God, it was like living in Glengarry Glen Ross for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Salesman.
Yeah.
The Maisels brothers.
Yeah.
Documentary. Bible salesman. Yeah, it was 12-hour days, right?
Yo, it was brutal, and you know, you and I had a similar experience with the language because they're so similar.
Yeah,
but you'd get up at 6 and you'd study Spanish or Italian and the Bible and the Book of Mormon till like 9 a.m. every day.
Yeah,
I mean, it's no wonder we learned the language.
Yeah,
it was pounded into us.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know if you ever had this happen, but it happens to me all the time when people are like, oh, you speak Spanish, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, you served a mission, yeah, and they're like, oh. Like you didn't work for it. Like, no, dude, you have no idea. I sure you did the same thing. I would, if I heard a word I didn't know, I would write it down.
Absolutely.
I'd look it up. I'd make a flashcard. I'd sit on the bus and do flashcards all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work my ass off.
Yeah.
But it was desperate. I had to. Like I was, it was survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any companions who didn't speak English?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, I had 2 Italian companions and they both had flawless English.
Really?
They were like the 2. Like there were only a handful of Italian missionaries in the mission, but they were the 2 who spoke English.
Oh wow!
And the rest of them all had this like really broken English. They really couldn't get along in English at all. And I was just like, how did I get these 2 bozos?
Right?
You know, like I didn't learn a thing from them.
Right?
Not that way.
Well, so I landed in Honduras. Was put on a bus that went 5 hours then on another bus for another 5 hours. And my companion didn't speak English. And we were the only 2 in the area.
No way.
So for the first 6 months, I barely spoke English. And it was brutal for the first few months because I couldn't point to where I was on a map, which is a very disassociative experience, not being able to really know where you are.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do if I broke my leg or fell or what. I couldn't express myself to my companion. So
my God.
It was very rough for the first few months, and I picked up more Spanish in those 3 months than I did the whole rest of the time I was there.
I'm sure
It's crammed. Yeah,
but it had to be amazing for your Spanish.
It was. I was 6 months there. I came out of there speaking basically fluent Spanish.
Yeah,
but it was not being able to say I need to go to the bathroom or I'm hungry.
Oh my God!
You know what I mean? Like it was endlessly frustrating.
That was not the experience at all. Not at all. Like, it was all Americans the entire time. A couple Australians, a British guy.
Yeah.
Probably some Canadians in there somewhere, but whatever. But yeah, just like a lot of Utahns and a smattering of other people from the rest of the English-speaking world, and a few Italians. And that was who was serving in the Rome mission. Our mission president didn't speak a lick of Italian.
No way.
Oh yeah.
Seriously?
Oh, it was amazing. His Italian was amazing, and he was right at the tail end of his mission, like their 3-year calling.
Yeah, right.
To be mission presidents, and he spoke a teensy bit, right? Like he could have like the APs, the assistants to the president, right? They would help him translate his talk into very basic Italian.
No way.
Right? And then he'd get up there and
read
he
it
could just
phonetically.
kind of read it. And every once in a while he would kind of stray from it and kind of try to get through it. But it was just like, it was Buongiorno, fratelli e sorelle. Like it was just, you could hear how American he was,
Right.
even if you don't even speak the language. It was really, really rough. Sister Parker didn't speak a word.
Right.
She had her Anziani and her Sorelles, who she just loved. And it was like, holy cow.
That's so nuts.
Wow.
Both of my mission presidents were Guatemalan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were mission presidents that didn't speak the language. That seems like pointless.
Well, Italian isn't widely spoken, and the church there doesn't produce
I guess that's
native
true.
mission presidents.
I'm sure
And
that's true in the Philippines and
yeah, there's probably a ton of places where it's just this, some guy from Centerville who served a mission, and I think his mission was somewhere in the United States, you know. And then and he was those two were delightful people. He was so just relaxed, and his attitude about the whole thing was like, and he just knew that we weren't going to have converts. And so the pressure was so low.
That's
He
cool.
just wanted us to basically follow the rules.
Did you carry around your white Bible all the time?
Of course. We did all the basic missionary stuff. But like come P-Day, right? What is it actually?
Preparation
Day. Which is not a whole day, and I always resented that. It's only a few hours. But we had open permission, just standing permission to leave our zones.
Oh,
and
cool.
Go wherever in the city we wanted to go.
That's awesome.
So like he got that we were also, that there was a cultural experience and a chance to see things that we would never get to see in that sort of depth ever again.
That's
unless
very
you
cool.
live there. And so I really got to see Rome. I had these two member friends who it didn't matter where I was at in the city, they would show up on P-Day and they had an itinerary all figured out.
No kidding.
And they would like, okay, so today we're going to get on the subway and we're going to go out to right out to, I can't remember where it was called. And then we're going to have a picnic at the aqueducts. Okay, cool. And they would bring the food and we'd ride down and sit in some grassy field in the base of some ancient Roman aqueducts. And
Dude. Do you know, on P-Days, more often than not, I would do my own laundry on a cement sink with a hard bar of soap. That was my P-Day.
You didn't have a washer in your apartment?
No. You know what? For the first 6 months, I did it on a rock in a river, which is actually kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, you learned a skill.
Well, and the big African women would go to do their African ethnicity women. They were God, I'm gonna mess it up, so I'm not gonna do it. The ethnicity, but they would they'd do their laundry with their tits out.
Oh, really?
Giant black tits.
Okay.
So it was at least something.
There was that. There was that.
They were nice, and they would correct our technique.
Really?
Yeah, I learned how to wash my
my
laundry on rocks in a river in northern Honduras.
That's crazy. No, like our apartments were nothing special, but the rent was such that there were always usually about 6 missionaries in an apartment, and they were just perfect. The apartments that had been around for a while were so perfectly adapted to missionary life. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience.
Did you have at least a lot of dinners with members and?
Yeah, but I mean, it
whatnot?
it wasn't Italian food. But it was
No, but it was
rice, beans, and chicken.
Oh, okay.
And I got sick a lot. I got malaria.
Really?
I got dengue fever. I had dysentery.
No way. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It was. We had rats a lot and cockroaches all the time, and
wow.
Yeah, there were big rodents who lived in the ceiling of one of our apartments that we just left alone. They left us alone.
Yeah, I went to a G7 country. So. I think Italy's in there.
But then, it's at the end of the day, we were doing the exact same thing.
No, yeah.
And the corporate speak of it all, investigators, commitment pattern, preparation day.
Yeah.
It's such a, when you kind of peel back a little bit from and distance yourself a little bit, it is a religion that is essentially a corporation.
Yeah.
Multi-level marketing as a religion.
Yeah.
And I really do think that drained a lot of my fervor out of me. By the time I came out of that, I had lost. I didn't believe in it as much. It took some other things to get me out of religion.
Right.
But that was where the luster came off.
Right.
Because I'm just selling a thing.
Right. Well, I mean, we should probably talk about the commitment pattern.
Yeah.
Right. Because people are probably like, what the fuck is the commitment pattern?
So it took me a long time to remember how to say it in English because it was the modelo de compromiso in Spanish.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it is essentially high pressure sales techniques that you apply to people that want to know about your faith.
Right.
And it's all about asking will you questions, not open-ended questions.
Right.
Eye contact,
building relationships,
complimenting. See, did you, not to harp on these differences, but where I was, there wasn't a lot to compliment when you walked up to somebody's house. It was dirt and a curtain for a door. Nice curtain. It's a very nice curtain. You know what I mean? Because you're supposed to come up with something like, oh, your garden is so pretty, or, you're just like, well.
I don't remember that at all. I don't remember the complimenting thing.
Yeah?
Maybe
that was part of building relationships.
That's why there's no baptisms in Italy.
You didn't compliment.
They forgot to teach us how to compliment.
They left one step out.
No, I don't remember that. I'm sure we did. Yeah. No, but like at the MTC, the Missionary Training Center in Provo, one of the things that I remember just being kind of, I was half shocked, half impressed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Where you actually go into like basically like it's the role play center. I can't remember what they called it. Like maybe they called it like I can't remember what they called it. But you would go and there was somebody on the other side of a door. Yeah. And you would ring the doorbell, right, or knock on the door, and they would answer the door, and you'd have to practice your like door approach, right? And the whole thing was on videotape, right? And they would like play it back for you and talk you through what you did right,
just
where you
like Jesus wanted.
It was unbelievable. They were using very sophisticated training techniques. To teach you how to do these things more effectively. And it was really weird.
It was like you were so in it that you couldn't really see it for what it was.
Yeah.
But it was it was just like I would assume how Amway goes about getting their people up to speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Any kind of absolutely.
Did you notice in the MTC the sister missionaries? I know not as much. But the more attractive ones were always going to temple missions, and the less attractive, more frumpy or shapely, were going to darkest Peru. No. Did you ever pick up on that?
I've always noticed that like the Temple Square missionaries, the sister missionaries at Temple Square are attractive,
good-looking women. Yeah. That's not universal. I mean, and you remember back in the day when you and I were there, you were going on a mission as a woman because you failed to get married,
right?
And so not all of them were terribly attractive. And I hope I'm not being mean or insensitive.
Right.
But of that stock, the better looking ones were always going to the temple missions, and the worst ones were getting sent far, far away. And that was one of those things I'm like, that seems strange to me. It seems a little bit almost, prostitution-y.
Well, yeah. it's a little superficial. If nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's 18 and 19-year-olds.
I know.
So you go if you're a woman no matter what, basically.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
I mean, that's how they talk about boosting their missionary numbers, and they're so proud of the increase. But by just opening it up to girls more, being more accepting of it, because it was always kind of discouraged.
It was a stigma. You went because you literally had failed to find a husband.
Right.
And you're 24 years old and you're a spinster. Right?
No, it was true.
It was true.
It was true.
And, insult to injury, if you're not a pretty-looking spinster, you're going to, you're not going to Italy.
Well, no, we had a lot of sister missionaries.
Yeah.
Were there many sent to?
Yeah, there was a fair amount.
Yeah. Because, I mean, most zones that I was in, or districts rather, there was always a sister.
Or at least a couple.
Yeah, missionary couple, whatever you call it. Companionship. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
And here's one thing that I still to this day don't regret it.
Yeah.
And I don't even resent it on any level.
Yeah, me neither.
It's really weird.
It is weird, isn't it?
Because I feel like I so easily could.
Right.
Or there would be a really easy thing to feel like, you guys took 2 years of my life.
Yeah.
Right? And it was such a transformative moment in my life and such a pivotal moment.
Yep.
Like, I know why people, especially like active Mormons, talk about their mission for like the rest of their life.
Right.
Right. Because it's just this amazingly powerful thing, and you're all in.
Yeah.
And if you're not all in, it's miserable.
Right.
Right.
And it's noticed if you're not all in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they try to correct that course.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, and when you're far from home and you're lonely and you're 19 and 20 years old, and all you've got that you can really hold on to is your faith, you hold on to it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And, most Mormons come home from their missions. If they stay in the church, they get married and start having kids right away. So to say it was the best 2 years of their life is true in a lot of ways, because they're never going to relive that kind of adventure.
Right.
And those who kind of get to walk away, our lives aren't so, and I don't mean to be, sounds so mean, our lives aren't so gray.
Right.
That we can look back on it fondly, but we've done other things since then.
Right.
And we've had
That's
other
a good
adventures
point.
since then.
Yeah.
But I don't regret it either. I mean, for me, Spanish has been a huge leg up in my industry, and it was miserable at times, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't not do it.
I've never found Italian to be useful.
Just when describing wine.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I've never been able to use it for anything.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Do you practice it at all?
I'll turn on, like, thanks to the internet, I can now watch like their 24-hour news channel.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rest of it's all like region blocked.
Right.
But that I can watch live and on the internet, and that's nice. And so I do that.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'll watch an Italian film and try to turn the subtibles off and.
It sucks. It goes kind of quick, doesn't it? It's like,
it does. It slips.
It comes
away.
back quick, but it
does.
quick.
I've been back to Italy twice since the mission, and the last time I was there was 2012. And yeah, the first couple days were a little, halting all through speech, but then, yeah, by the end of I think we were there for like 12 days, and it was back.
Nice.
It felt good. So that's reassuring, that it can come back so quickly.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But to your point, they did take 2 years of my life, but they also had taken the previous 19. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would have actually left the church the way I did if I hadn't done that. I think I needed to go all the way. And just, then I was able to extricate myself from it.
Yeah.
And it took that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably as good a place to end it as any.
All right.
So yeah, first thank you again.
Thanks for having
being
me.
here, Doug.
My pleasure.
It was really great. And if you'd like to, of course, to thank Doug yourself, you can send us an email at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com, or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/TGIAtheist. And while on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. and request to join. It's a closed group, but we will let you in. Special thanks, of course, always goes out to Mackenzie for all of her work on Facebook. And for the Facebook moderators, Danny and... I'm trying to recall the name of the other one. Or ones. Dan knows them. I don't. So he'll thank you doubly next week. And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music. And thank you, our dearest listener, for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.